All right, kids, we are live on this lovely rainy day. So, I hadn't planned to go live today, but I had something that I was thinking about, and I thought I'd share it with you. So, I was watching SAS Who Dares Wins the other night. If you've seen it, you'll know what it's about. If you haven't, it's a bunch of civilians go off to attempt to do some of the tasks from an SAS selection process. So, they go through various very tough activities. They go through the experience of being shouted at, being pushed to their limits, all that kind of stuff. It's an interesting thing to watch because as you go through the series, you'll learn more about the people, and you start to understand their stories, why they're there, and most of them have suffered some kind of trauma in their life, be that a big trauma or a slightly smaller trauma. Either way, they're there because they're trying to work through something. They're there for validation. They're there because they don't want to feel weak. They want to gain some level of control, some kind of power over themselves. They want to prove something. But the question is that really helpful? Because you can do as many hard things in your life as you like. You can grind, you can struggle, you can fight, you can keep achieving all these big things, all these goals, all these activities, all these hard things. But once the initial high from having achieved it wears off, once those chemicals that are, shutting themselves around their body start to dampen down, you end up feeling empty again. Because what you've done is you've sought external validation. And external validation is never enough. True validation has to come from the inside. It has to come from that self-acceptance, that growing of the self. And when we can do that, we no longer feel the need to seek external validation. We can do things not because we feel like we need to do them to validate ourselves in some way or to prove something, but because we want to. For me, back when I was playing golf, the struggle and the continuing struggle over and over again, it wasn't because I wanted to do it, it's because I needed to prove something. I had a lot of people who said I wasn't good enough, and I had to prove them wrong. And I did. But the struggle was just too much in the end, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I stopped. So it's understanding the difference between doing something hard and struggling because we want to and we know that it's going to make us better, and doing something that's hard and struggling because we want some kind of validation. We need to feel like we are worth something. You can do as much as you like. You can achieve all of these things and still be incredibly empty inside. And the only way that we can get around that is to work on the inner world, to work on self-acceptance, to understand that everything that you are is enough because you're already enough. You're not enough because somebody else says you are. You're not enough because you've completed Mount Everest or whatever. You're enough because you're enough and you've accepted that. There are times in our lives where we do need a kick in the arse and we do need to take the hard way, to do something that's a bit more challenging, because if we don't challenge ourselves, we stagnate. But we need to understand that we're doing it for us to grow, not to validate or to prove something. And I think anyone who's ever been an athlete and competed in sports to a high level, or done a combat sport and been in a fight, or even been in the military, anything along those lines, they will understand what it means to take the hard route, because it comes naturally. I've always been that person that if I have a choice between going round a wall, climbing over it, or running through it, I would run through it. And it seems like absolute madness. But for a lot of people, that's the choice. They always take the hard path. They always struggle. And then they wonder why life is so difficult. But it's become part of what they do. And it starts to define who they are. I'm the person that takes the hard road. And then we find ourselves stuck in the loop of always struggling, always being stuck. And it's taken a long time for me to learn that you don't always have to do that. And in some cases, the hard way is actually choosing the easier option. The hard way is not running through the brick wall, it's walking around it, because it's challenging all of your beliefs and all of your preconceived notions about who you are and what you have to do to feel like you're worth something. So it all depends on you as a person. Whether you're the person that needs to do something harder, needs to be challenged, or whether you're the person that needs to choose something a little bit easier to lessen the struggle, and to understand that when we do hard things, we do them because we want to get better, because we want to grow, not because that hard thing in some way validates us, because it bolsters our ego, because it lifts us up temporarily. So, the question for you today is to consider where in your own life you maybe need to step up and challenge yourself a little bit, challenge yourself to grow, or where do you need to maybe back off and lessen the struggle, take the hard, easy road rather than the hard, hard road. So consider it. Consider your reasoning behind doing hard things. Consider whether you do enough hard things, and consider whether the hard thing for you is doing the easy thing. And let me know in the comments, because it'd be interesting to see everybody's different perspectives around this and where you are and what kind of person you are. So let me know in the comments, and have a wonderful week. I'll see you all next week.